welcome to another video from Steve Parkers Limited. This is our revised power steering conversion kit. This is for series model Land Rovers. We've done this in conjunction with an engine conversion because the biggest problem with power steering is the source of the power. And most modern engines which you're putting in as a conversion have got power steering pumps on as standard. It seems a shame to take it off when the main problem has been overcome. And so we've come up with this power steering kit. Like I said, it's our Mark III version. We've had to revise it slightly because we've got supply problems with some of the components that we use. But it's basically the same as what we've done before. We use the power steering box off the second generation Range Rover, the P38. They're reaching the end of the service life now, and the boxes are in really good condition generally. Far better and more reliable than the Adwest boxes that other people have used on their power steering conversions, and much simpler to fit because you don't have to worry about moving cross members, etc. In our kit we've got all the steering linkages, which we'll come to that in a moment in more detail, but this is the heart of it. The mounting bracket which fits on the outside of the chassis, and then the gussets which will weld to the corners there. We put the gussets in because there's a lot of load on the outer panel of the chassis. So we use the gussets now to spread the load across all three faces of the chassis. Now you can buy a new chassis from Richard Chassis with this plate fitted and the gussets, etc. Just make sure that they fit their gussets. The basic kit consists of the steering linkages, our special adapter. I'll come to that in a moment as to why we have to have this special adapter. And then our drag link. The gearing of the steering is for manual steering, and when we did our first conversions, the power was overpowered. There was no feel to the steering, and there was too many turns lock to lock. Manual steering's got 4 turns lock to lock, and most power steering applications have got 3. So we tried various experiments trying to sort of alter the gearing, and we came up with this. We have this adapter which fits into the track rod assembly. So the drag link now fits directly into the track rod, and that makes all the difference. That gears it up by around 25% or so. So it gives us around about 2 3/4 to 3 turns to lock. It does depend a little bit on your wheel and tyre combination and how your lock stops are set up, etc. Because this is only a partial kit, you'll need to supply your own major units like your power steering box off the P38 with the reservoir, the power steering pipes and the banjo fittings. Also you will need the P38 steering column universal joint shaft. We use the Defender 9110, same thing. Steering column, you want the upper and lower brackets and the steering wheel to match the column. There's 2 different splines on the columns, so this wheel has got to match the column. When it comes to the engine side of it, use the power steering pipes which would match the engine. And then we would couple the 2 together with this hydraulic fitting we supply, so there's no welding, it's a compression fitting which will then adapt the main power pipe to the steering box. Because we're not using one particular engine, we can't really supply you with the low pressure return side of pipes, so that's something you have to sort of source yourself. You've got to make sure you use oil tolerant piping, etc. for that. It comes complete with instructions and telling you how to sort of go about it. And one of the things we've got on the development at the moment, we've been asked on several times with people with either non-standard engines with no power steering and for standard engines which obviously don't have power steering, petrol and diesel. So we're looking at a standalone power source to make the to get the power source really, and that's under development. And what I would suggest is you look at our website when we've got it right on the conversions and steering. Once we've got it as we want it, then we'll be launching it on there. So we'll go under the vehicle and then we'll show you it all installed. This is our Land Rover long wheelbase Series 3 development vehicle. Here we can see the steering box fitted onto the adapter plate which we supply, and the gussets are down here and then down here, but we'll give you a clearer shot of those after. Now obviously the inner wing has to be cut out to go around the box, but the wing will be off the vehicle while you're actually doing the installation. Now vehicles where the battery box is here, it's not already been moved for whatever reason, the battery will need relocating to a suitable location, possibly underneath the passenger seat. You'll see here, this has been formed so to clear the universal joint shaft, and that's the original Series 3 steering box cover. And now these Z sections here is what we rely on at the moment for the customer to make, because that centre part there is the section of the inner wing. We're thinking of making these sections for the customer to make life a little bit easier. Now at the moment we have a big box that goes over this cover here, and on subsequent vehicles we've changed that, where we just have like a panel at the top here, and then we use a heavy rubber cover to go over it. It's about 3mm thick rubber, and it'll pick up on these screws here and these screws here, which are the original front panel screws. You'll see that the box clears really nice, and it's just cleared the front panel beautifully. Now when you get in the steering box, it's imperative that you must get the drop arm with it. I forgot to mention that before, but that's really crucial that you get that. We'll just move around the other side and get a better view of the installation there. Now you'll see the gusset there welded underneath, and that puts the load then on all 3 plates of the chassis rather than just being on the outer skin. This is our steering rod setup. Now we just put a white cover over then just to sort of highlight the rods really. Now this is the original drag link end which is going into the drop arm. These are the new rods now. And then at this end here, that's a standard setup. We've got this new adjuster link in there. I'll make it a little bit more adjustable, makes life a little bit easier. Now you'll see at this end, this is the track rod adapter we showed you earlier on. Now the original drag link end would go into that there, into the original drag link opening, but we don't use that anymore because we put it straight into the track rod, and that gives us the gearing. So that gears it up from 4 turns lock to lock to about 2.75, around about 3. It depends on your wheel and tyre combination and how your lock stocks are set up, etc. Now the steering gear is compatible with left-hand drive. It's literally just swap it all around the other way. The rods are all the same. It's just a case it fits the other way around. One of the things that's crucial when it's installed is the clearance between the spring and the drag link end here. There's not a lot of room, but of course this is on a 2-poster ramp at the moment, so suspension has dropped down, so when the suspension up there's more clearance. But that's all in the instructions telling you what to do. Obviously it's got to clear on that down there. So what we'll do now, we'll have a look underneath the vehicle and show you all the pipe work and other parts of the installation. Well, this is a view from underneath the vehicle now. The engine that's installed in this vehicle is a 300 TDI, so the pump comes on this particular engine. You can see the pump mounted up there, and that's the main power feed pipe coming along. Now you'll see on this particular model there's 2 jointers in there. There should only be one. We had a valve in there which we experimented with earlier on, which didn't work very well, so that's why that linkage is in there. But you will be supplied with that joint there, which takes the pipe work from 8mm to 10mm, because the box pipes are 10mm and the pump pipes are 8mm, so you get that jointer in there so to take up the difference between the 2 pipes. You'll see this other heavy rubber pipe coming down. That's the pipe from the reservoir to the pump. That's your feed pipe. Now we'll take a shot from underneath the bonnet, then we can show you how the reservoir was set up. But the pipe from the reservoir goes straight to the box direct. So the circuit is reservoir, box, power steering pump to the box, and then the return is back to the pump. Okay, so we'll just have a look underneath the bonnet now and just show it. This is an under bonnet shot showing the P38 power steering reservoir. We've also used the mounting bracket off the P38 as well. The other part is just a simple L-shaped bracket which we just took off the radiator. Looking on top of the steering box now, you can see the 2 banjo fittings. The larger one of the 2 is the return pipe back up to the power steering reservoir. The smaller one of the 2 is the main power pipe. You can just see there the steering column universal joint, and that's off the P38. I can just see it, just moving my marker there. Then that goes up to the column which is off the Defender then. So we'll just move around the other side and we'll have a look at that. This is the Defender steering column and the bottom bearing. You can just make out just the top P38 universal joint column, because that fits directly onto the steering box, onto the steering column here. So we've got the bottom bracket which bolts to the bulkhead footwell. Then we have the other bracket at the top which is off the Defender, which will bolt to a Series 3 bulkhead. Now you'll see, if we go down here, this is the original steering box plate off a Series 3, which has to be altered slightly so as to accommodate the position of the steering column. So now we'll go inside and show you the installation inside the vehicle. Now we move to the interior of the power steering conversion. When we're fitting the column, we'll need to remove the dash panel, and we would strongly recommend that you label up all the wiring off the switches, to make reinstallation so much simpler. The cowls will have to come off, but the lower part of the dashboard can stay in place. The inner part of the Defender steering column is longer than the Series one, so that's why we use the Defender steering wheel, because you can see it's basically flat. If you were to put the Series 3 steering wheel on it, as we've been asked many a times, the rim will be too far inside the cab, too high, and potentially dangerous and very uncomfortable. As a consequence of this inner column being longer, we lose the self-cancelling facility of the indicators. We could fit it if needs be, but we'd have to cut so much of the column cowls away, it'd look a mess. So we decided to leave them as they were, and what you have to do is just switch them on and switch them off. So it's quite a simple thing really, and something you soon get into. That concludes this video on the power steering conversion. I hope you have found it of interest and informative. If you look out on our website, steveparkers.com, under conversions and power steering for the latest updates on the power steering conversions that we're doing. So thank you very much for your time, and thanks for watching.